All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Hour. We are going to be jumping into our fantasy baseball draft shows, starting with free agency trades and impact for your fantasy baseball season. Let's go.
The Fantasy Six Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bob and AJ Applegarth.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me tonight, AJ Applegarth. What's going on, man?
What up? What up? Welcome back, folks, friends, family, whatever you are. Thank you for joining us. We are happy to be back on the airwaves, mixing it up, and finally talking some baseball.
Yeah, and down below on the camera here is Corey Pieper, going to be our third host for the fantasy baseball season at least. Yeah, happy to have him here. What's going on, Corey?
Cool. I'm happy to be here for some baseball. Joe and I have been doing some football for a while, but yeah, happy to be on, guys.
Yeah, so
yes, welcome. Glad to have you aboard.
Yeah, Corey and I did some of the top 10 shows for their him and Connor's top 10 per position. But we're gonna be jumping into figure we would start draft shows, touching base on all these free agency moves and signings and these big time trades that went down. Before we jump into that, though, just while you're here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that little bell. If you're listening on audio, follow the podcast feed, whatever it's called. I don't even know. I should probably learn that one of these days. But
maybe helpful.
Hey kids, let's learn the lingo. That sounds super old. Anyway, so yeah, let's jump into this though. So look, there's really no other place to start, right? It is absolutely the Dodgers. They have dominated the storylines here in free agency, outside of maybe one major signing that we'll get to probably next. But I want to start off not with just the Dodgers, but like, I want to just ask your quick opinion. Like, what do you all think about the Dodgers and the way that they have been able to sign all these players? Like, do you actually think it's good or bad for baseball? Do you not care? AJ, I'll let you have the floor.
As a Phillies fan, I think it's extremely bad. I do not like it one bit.
You guys also helped them get
of horse crap. Yes,
because you gave them international money, you turds. Yeah. So
don't get me started.
Phillies fan, that's your fault.
I don't want to go there either. No, I think that it's ultimately bad for baseball because you see in football what the salary cap does and how it affects teams who are good and how it affects teams who are just not good at managing the salary cap. There's a lot of parity in the NFL because of the salary cap, and then you have many teams that you kind of have the same grouping of teams that end up excelling, and it's all based on how their general managers rule the salary cap and how they can make it work for them and their teams. In baseball, without a salary cap, I mean, you can pay these guys whatever you want, and it kind of started honestly with the Phillies. Not necessarily started with them, but the big splash was them signing Bryce Harper to, I believe it was 13 years for $300 some odd million. So his annual, average isn't as horrible as it might look because of the length of time that you're signing him for. But then as early as, I believe, last year, maybe even the year before that, I think it was 2 years ago, his agent, who's a scumbag, was like, oh, well, we want an extension, blah, blah, blah. All these other people are getting way more money, and Bryce Harper's still at the top of his game. which yes, he is, but dude, you're like 3 or 4 years into this contract, and now you're like, we need to make more money. I mean, it's just getting outrageously expensive to go after these players. And when you have a guy like the Mets owner, Owen, he flat out came out, this offseason was like, oh, go ahead and put whatever you want on Soto. I'm just going to top it by at least 50 mil because I have more money than, everybody else in the world combined. So, I mean, frankly, it's just plain bullshit. I can't really say much more about it. I mean, I think at some point a salary cap has to be implemented, but because of the way these contracts are already going, I don't know how you can make it work. Like, some teams are going to have to either eat a bunch of cash or pay their guys up front and then somehow backload contracts. I have no idea. Nice. So yeah, I get what the Dodgers are doing because they're technically allowed to. But this offseason, I mean, frankly, it's kind of soured me on baseball a little bit. And that sucks because baseball, is basically my favorite sport to watch.
I'll push back a little on some of that. Yeah. So I agree. I would love a salary cap. I don't think it's going to happen.
No,
and
I don't think it will.
Like parity, there hasn't been a repeat World Series winner since the Yankees in the early 2000s. And meanwhile, we got the Chiefs going to 7 Super Bowls in a row or something like that. 7 AFC championships with 3 Super Bowls.
Accurate. Well, that's what I mean. That the better teams just continue to be going. But then after that, it's a lot of parity. It's a lot of the same teams that suck.
That's the difference, right? You have to have a reset. Like, you look at how the Saints performed with Drew Brees and how they find themselves in this cap hell and they're not good. And that's just the difference in baseball right now is there is no reset period. The Dodgers can keep retooling. The Phillies can keep retooling. The Mets can keep retooling. There's the Cubs, some of the bigger teams, and it isn't going to change. I think the collective bargaining agreement is up after next season. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have another little bit of a lockout there again, because it just seems like that's the way we're headed.
Yeah. I've said this before. I don't blame the Dodgers for anything they're doing. I hate it. I do think it sucks to watch happen as a fan of a different team. But yeah, there's no way that the players don't want a salary cap, I feel like, because they just get paid, right? And these owners don't want a salary cap either because there's some cheap ass owners out there that don't want to have to pay money. And then there's the rich owners like Cohen and Dodgers, Yankees, whoever, right? Who just want to spend. And it's I get your point, Corey, with there hasn't been a repeat champion, but it does feel like it's just you have to the small market teams like the Rays and the smaller market teams like the Rays and even the Orioles still to some degree. Even though I don't really think they should be kind of have to hit the lottery all at the same time, right? They have to build through their minor league system and just hit the lottery all at the same time and be really good, or maybe go in hard free agency, 1-2 seasons, and then they got to sell off. That's what sucks. And it sucks even more. So as an Orioles fan, right, there's almost no chance we're going to be able to retain Gunnar Henderson. There's no way. He's going to go out and get a big ass contract. And the Orioles will never match it. And that sucks to just know that in 2 years he's gone.
I mean, looking
shorter.
At their system,
they might trade him.
Their farm system is one of the best in baseball and has been for quite a while because of, partially probably because of this inability to want to spend money before the new ownership took over. And, it's okay, well, we're just going to grow our farm system. Okay, great. And it's worked out for the most part. Granted, they haven't had, the playoff success that I feel like they probably expected with as good as these players have been. But I mean, Henderson, you just talked about. You got Rutschman, easily one of the top catchers in the game right now. You got
Kobe Mayo,
Kobe Mayo, Kirchstad, however you sell it, Holiday. Like this is fantastic talent that they've had coming up, and that they've been able to trade off some of these guys and kind of build elsewhere. But Corbin Burns, perfect example. He's gone. He was here for 1 year. He played lights out, and now he's gone because he's making that money. So
it wasn't even a huge contract for Burns, in my opinion, but they still didn't match it, which just kind of sucks. That's the part of it that I really don't like.
Yeah,
is that like the smaller market teams, unless somebody wants to take a discount, can almost never retain these guys.
Who was the last small market team that won? Am I missing one? The Royals, like 10 years ago? The Royals won one?
Yeah, the Royals, probably.
Marlins,
like a long time ago. What was that?
The Nationals win? I remember the Nationals got there.
The Nationals got there, but they had they might have not had, but they had
Soto and Turner.
Yeah.
They also had a really good pitching staff. Did they Scherzer?
That was the Strasburg, Scherzer.
Yeah, they had
even when Patrick Corbin was competent.
Yeah.
So, and that, I guess those two, but otherwise it's been a while because we've stretched Dodgers, the Rangers aren't a small market, Astros, those are not small market teams. So
I mean, the Giants got sprinkled in, and they're not small market per se, but they're not like the Dodgers.
At the time when they had their little, was it 3 wins in 5 years stretch, I would have considered them a small market. Now they don't play like that anymore.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's jump into these free agent signings that the Dodgers did go after here. And obviously, I don't know. I'll just run through the big ones that we highlight here. There's a lot. Blake Snell, Michael Conforto, Blake Trinan, Teoscar Hernández, Kirby Yates as of Yesterday. I'm losing track of time. Obviously, Sasaki, Tanner Scott. There's a bunch here. Corey, who interests you the most here? Who do you think has the biggest impact, and who loses values fantasy-wise? It could be a guy who's on the team previous to a signing. It doesn't have to be one of these.
Well, for fantasy, the discussion has to start with, we expect this team to win 110 games. So that's probably 50 save opportunities, but who gets them all? Because now we have Evan Phillips carried it over. Michael Kopech at the end of the year. Now he's starting the year injured here. And then they brought in 2 closers, Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates. I'm leaning towards Tanner Scott leading this group in saves, but I don't have a ton of conviction that he's going to pull all of them. I think if you just going percentages, I'll take Tanner Scott for 60% of probably 50 opportunities. He's the one that I want the most, but I don't have a whole lot of conviction. Anybody have another feeling about the closer?
They've got so many guys. It's really tough to know. And, it feels like the Dodgers like to have one guy too. So somebody's going to come out on top. It's just a matter of, are you going to take that chance in drafts and go after one of these guys and hope you land him? I don't know. I liked Phillips, but he imploded at the end of last season. So it was probably not him anymore.
Well, and honestly, that's what happens with these bullpens. I think, relief pitchers are such a commodity these days because of, the way that they're used now. You really don't have that many just bona fide closers. And we talk about it every year about, saves, holds, this and that types of, that type of league. But, this, and again, not to go back to the Phillies, but that's what I do because it's what I know. But this is what they've been trying to do. They gather all of these, quality arms for the bullpen and try to build their bullpen knowing, hey, we're hoping to get to the playoffs. We need these guys because even in the playoffs, your starters aren't used the same way anymore. They're going through 5 innings, maybe 6. Like you just don't see complete games or even guys taking it into the 7th or 8th anymore in the playoffs because you have all these other arms. You play the situational baseball game with these guys. You have the loogies, So I think the way that bullpens are used, the way that that's changed so much over the recent years, it's become this big battle in the offseason to see who can acquire the most, bullpen arms, and then they'll figure it out as the season goes on. But I agree, Corey. I think this is going to be Scott's job to lose, really, as far as who's going to get the most. But Kirby Yates could be a bit of a sleeper. He's been a closer and a successful one in the past. He's also kind of blown up as a closer in the past too. So it really depends on what Kirby Yates they think they're getting. It's only a 1-year contract, so I feel like maybe he'll be fairly successful because he wants to get another good contract that's more than a year. So I would say that's my pecking order, is probably Scott, Yates, Phillips is in there somewhere, depending on what he comes back and does, and then probably Trenian.
I want to get your all's thoughts about this starting staff, right? I mean, they could load up another whole team full of starters at this point. Like, it is insane how many starters they have. I mean, Roster Resource has 6 starters right now. That doesn't even count Ohtani. Like, Blake Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Gonsolin, Sasaki, May, throw Ohtani in there, right? They've got dudes in the minors who they know can come up and do it. I mean, AJ, come on. What's our phrase with the Dodgers?
Dodgering.
They're going to do this all season long. It is going to be insane. They are going to just be like, oh, his finger hurts. He's going to sit down for 2 weeks. Like, it's going to be nuts. And I know every team does it to some degree, but the Dodgers are going to do it more this year than I feel like they ever have. And it's just, these guys are going to be awesome. And like, you just wonder, like, we know Blake Snell comes out like a lump of coal, man. He sucks at the beginning. Like, do they just be like, you just go over there to sit there and, just think about what you've done.
For 2 weeks.
Just sit there for a while, for a month, and then come back, after the All-Star break, and you'll be good. Like, do they just do that with some of these guys? Like, if they're just like, kind of hitting a rough spot, just sit them down for a couple of weeks, bring somebody else up, or just go back to a 5-man rotation. I don't know. Like,
I mean, it's literally the scene from Happy Gilmore where grandma's in there and she's sewing and my finger hurts. Yeah, well, great. Now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscape duty. Snell, get the hell out there. Plant some freaking grass seed, you douche.
Much as he's getting paid, he can handle that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
Is it safe to say the losers in the losers in this whole situation are in Dynasty? If you have any of their prospects, do not roster.
You gotta hope you gotta hope that it's Michael Bush and they get traded somewhere else, because otherwise they're just not. You're never breaking in. Like, I like Dalton Rushing. You're never gonna see him, barring some massive injury. Andy Pages might not play this year either. Like, here, I pulled up the projections. How many pitchers do you think they have projected for over 130 innings on Steamer? This is Steamer.
I mean, do we know for certain that Ohtani is
130 innings, and Ohtani is projected? I'll give you that one, and he's not 130 though.
Okay, he's projected.
I didn't think he would be.
I would say over 130.
That's a good number. I'd say 7.
So they have 4. Blake Snell at 171, and I'll take the under on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yamamoto 156. Maybe, but I wouldn't bet that either. Glasnow 146. I think that would be a career high for him. And Gonsolin coming off of a major shoulder injury, 141. I don't know. I'm not sure that any of them get there, to tell you the truth, that any of them hit those numbers.
Yeah. I guess I was just thinking they're just going to roll with all of them all season long. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
7. I don't know. It's rough, man. But man, this team is loaded.
About Bobby Miller, like going into last year, he was the top one, right?
I loved Bobby Miller. I almost traded for him in a keeper league. Thank God I didn't. But he's gonna get a chance.
That's
the thing. He's gonna come up and maybe he just sets the world on fire, and they got to keep him up there. But I mean, this lineup is just sick, man. When Will Smith is batting sixth, probably seventh, man, you're loaded.
I mean, and then they also signed Ha-Seong Kim. Apparently,
yeah,
he's not even on our list here. I'm just looking at their depth chart or whatever, and it's why?
I think he's going to play second, right?
Yeah. They have him starting second. Mookie at short. Conforto, Edmund, and Teoscar in the outfield.
It's a good team.
Yeah, it's a very good team.
Really good team. I'll give it to them. I mean, again, not illegal to do this because of no cap. But
yeah, so let's move over to the other team that made probably the biggest single splash in the entire offseason, and it's the New York Mets. Obviously, Juan Soto's the big story here, signing that crazy 15-year contract for $3 billion. I mean, I kid, but it was a lot. Other big names of note: Frankie Montas, Clay Holmes, Sean Manaea. Pete Alonso's still hanging out there. Maybe he comes back. It kind of doesn't sound like it anymore. I think that was
no.
He has not signed anywhere, unless it came out in the last 2 hours. So I guess I don't know. What's your thoughts? Soto had a career year in New York. Him and Judge were amazing together. Do you think Soto can keep that up in the other New York? Corey?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not really concerned. Does he take a slight step back? Does he not score 128 runs? Maybe is it 105? Sure, if that's a step back, but I think he could still hit 40 home runs. I know the last year was the first time he got over 40. The RBIs might go up. He might move down from second in the lineup to third. And he is as rock solid as of anyone to bat for a high average and a ridiculously high OBP. So I'm still very confident taking Soto. I'll take him as high as 4 in a fantasy draft.
Yeah, and in an OBP league, maybe you take him first
1.
still. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, AJ, what's your thoughts about it? Because look, there were, his seasons, the last couple of seasons in Washington, his season in San Diego, his full season in San Diego was still really good, but nothing like last season. And there was a reason why even last year, I saw him go, middle of the back, kind of that 8-9 range of the first round a lot of times last season. Any thought that maybe that's kind of where he belongs more, knowing that he's not in a Yankees uniform anymore and doesn't have Judge sitting there? Or is this lineup good enough to still help him keep his value up?
No, I can see the argument with the Judge protection there. They were fantastic together, but I don't see a horrific drop off with him in the Mets. I mean, the Mets came out of nowhere last year. Not really came out of nowhere. They sucked in the beginning of the year, and then they had a really fantastic end to the season, and they rode it into the playoffs. I think them adding Soto just ensures that, hey, we are for real. We still want to do this. We're not looking at last season as this random fluke. We want to be the team in New York that everybody cheers for. I mean, it's not really going to happen, but this team's still very solid. As much as it pains me to say this, Vientos was amazing in the playoffs and really a driving force for that team towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. You still got Alvarez behind the dish. He's got some decent power and pop. Jeff McNeil is a turd, but he's a pretty good turd. Lindor is awesome.
Coming from the Phillies fan, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is coming from the heart.
if I can dress up a turd and make it just a pig, then okay, great. But
I like it.
I think I still think it's a good lineup. They kept Winker on board. They still got Marte. They just have they're not sexy names, but they're guys that just go out, they grind, and they play good baseball. Nimmo it really came on last year too.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of like the animated guy, like, hey, we need to do this, and he just made a voice, and people bought into it. The team bought into it, and they played good ball. And I think that they're gonna challenge for the division this year. I would not be surprised if they won it. Having Soto there, that would also pain me, but no one else was getting Soto. It didn't matter. So, and I redact my statement from earlier because apparently Steve Cohen is only the 39th richest person in at least America, probably still the world. Yeah, what
Tough
a
year.
dick.
Tough year, man.
Yeah.
All right. Enough about the Mets. Guess we can move on for AJ's sake.
Yes, please.
Move over to the Yankees because that's a much better conversation. So they've made some pretty big. They've made some noise here. So they obviously were in on the Soto, back and forth. But as soon as they did not get him, they said, "Okay, we'll take that $800 million and spend it on a whole bunch of other dudes who are also really damn good." So Max Fried was like almost immediate. As soon as Soto went elsewhere, Max Fried signed. That is a major signing, in my opinion, for them.
Yeah.
Pitching was not a major strength for them. It hasn't been for years. Last year, it was better than I think a lot of people expected, but you could also see it take a huge step back again. Like I don't think it would surprise anybody. Devin Williams is a big signing too. I like him a lot as long as he, actually is healthy. Cody Bellinger, hit or miss, with him. Paul Goldschmidt, we don't know. Those are the big ones. Obviously, Garrett Cole signed the extension, but that wasn't a big surprise there. So, AJ, where do you want to start here?
Well, not with the Yankees, I guess. I don't know.
Different team.
No, yeah. I will say the Fried signing I like because now he's out of the NL East and he can go to the AL East and get beat up over there. Although the Phillies did do pretty well against him, so it's a love-hate missing of him. But I think they definitely needed to shore up the pitching. Like you said, they've kind of got by with what they had. Garrett Cole's obviously a stud. Rodon's had up and down seasons and injury issues in his history. If he's healthy and on point, he can be very dominant, but you just don't know if you're getting that out of him. And then you got Luis Gil, whatever it is. He was awesome last year for them. And he thank you, Ted. I agree.
Thanks, Ted.
He just he was so good for them. And again, it's another one of these like coming up stories, comes out of nowhere, and boom, now we have this very solid borderline stud pitcher, to go as a 1-2 punch with Cole, even though now he's probably their fourth starter. So after that, it gets kind of dicey. You still got Strom in there. Consistency issues. Schmidt, also consistency issues. So I'm not really that excited about their pitching overall, behind some of these guys. I think they're going to be rostered in fantasy leagues regardless. Everyone's going to go after them because the offense is still there. You picked up Bellinger. You obviously still have Judge. Yaz Flute Chisholm came on last year for them and was really good. He was like their Brandon Nimmo, maybe not the best clubhouse guy from what everything was being said about him last year, but he came out and he balled out, and he was really good for them. Now they have freaking Goldschmidt at first. I mean, this is just, I don't want to say again it's unfair, but it's a very solid lineup. They're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah. Corey, is it safe to say like the sum of the parts is greater than the whole, like losing Soto, but gaining Max Fried, gaining Bellinger, gaining Devin Williams, gaining Goldschmidt, all four of those pieces, does that make them a better overall team than just retaining Soto?
I think so, because like AJ said, they needed pitching really badly. Going into the offseason, there was a chance they were going to lose Garrett Cole. He opted out. They were able to re-sign him too. Then you add Max Fried on top of it. So that helps the pitching. And then I'm pretty excited for Goldschmidt and Bellinger in New York, actually. Goldschmidt, after a terrible first half last year, hit 260 or hit 271 in the second half with 9 home runs and 5 steals still. Going to a much smaller park. St. Louis is tough to hit in. I think still has 25 plus home runs in the tank there. I'll probably draft him quite a bit later in drafts. And we saw how when Jazz Chisholm came to New York, the Yankees said, hey, you're fast, go and steal bases. And he stole 18 of them in only 46 games after stealing nearly that many in 100 games with the Marlins. I think the Yankees are going to leash Cody Bellinger too on the base path. So I'm pretty excited for both those guys. Is it always going to be tough to lose Juan Soto? Of course, that's a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But you add 4 former All-Stars to your lineup. That's a pretty good compensation package to make a do for it. So
I agree. And Ted's over here talking about how they could get, Dylan C's trade rumors are in the mix. I sure hope not. I really hope he's an Oriole, but we'll
that would be phenomenal.
That would be amazing.
But orange and black instead of Evil Empire pinstripes.
Evil Empire pinstripes. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Don't sleep on Dominguez in the outfield there. He came up finally last year, got some at bats. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, with a starting nod this year. It sounds like he probably will. Young dude and decent power. I think he's going to come on. Maybe not necessarily this year, but in the coming years, he's a name to keep stashed away.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he could do damage this year too. I mean, we saw how Volpe struggled his first, cup of tea. I
kind of hope that he gets off to a hot start and they move him to leadoff over Anthony Volpe.
Yeah, I mean, Volpe was good, but Volpe probably not what we all thought he was going to be. But I mean, he had a pretty good season. But I mean, I do like the signings. Goldschmidt is just a vet, and first base is one of those positions for me. And you're going to see it on my rankings. You can get access to those over on Fantasy Six Pack. Use fantasysixpack.net/plans. You're going to see in my rankings, Paul Goldschmidt probably ranked, out of the top 12, and for a good reason, right? I mean, like he's just not that elite first baseman anymore, and you don't have to draft him there. But like, could he be good enough for you? Like the draft cost that he's going to have for you is well worth it, because the difference between him and probably like the 12th first baseman is this much. And I can tell you, like, the cheat sheet that I just put together, that you can also have, if you sign up to be a member, we'll show you right there that, like, first base, yes, the top guys are up there for a reason. You got the Vlads, you got the, Pete Alonso's whenever he gets out there. You've got the Bryce Harper, who now is first base, right? You've got these elite guys, and they're up there for a reason, right? But after like the first 5 or 6, maybe, there's a lot of dudes who are all kind of the same. Let's be real. And so it's one of those, like, if I don't get one of those top guys, like Paul Goldschmidt, I'd be perfectly happy with as my first baseman. You could easily hit 25 bombs in this park. I think you can get double-digit steals. He's hitting behind Aaron Judge right now, projected in the lineup. That's going to be amazing for his That's going to be amazing for his RBI totals, unless Judge clears bases in front of him, which is very possible. It's going to happen a lot. But even still, like if he just gets on base, still got Cody Bellinger, still got Stanton right behind him. Like he's going to score plenty of runs too out of that 4th spot. So I think he's a very good first baseman to kind of take a chance on, maybe corner infielder if you use him, or if you just pass and wait on first base. I think you can be perfectly happy with him. Moving over here to another division, AL East division foe for the Orioles, the Boston Red Sox. They made some noise this offseason. I was after a couple of off seasons of really not like just kind of head scratcher moves. They went out and kind of try to hunker down some things, man. Garrett Crochet was the big splash signing, man. There's a lot of risk there. I really do think there is a lot of risk. He dealt with a lot of injuries early on, came out last year and was just amazing for the White Sox. Then the innings weirdness kind of happened, and he was still just like the strikeout rate he had was incredible. We'll get to that. Walker Buehler, I think, is a really sneaky, like under the radar signing that probably not a lot of people are talking about, because Buehler has struggled. He got injured, came back, wasn't great, was okay last year. I think he can be really good. He's shown it in the past. They got Chapman. We know Chapman's going to walk a ton of guys, but man, he can also strike out a ton of guys. He's proven closer material if they want to keep him in that role. Patrick Sandoval's another like under the radar guy for me. I think he has shown flashes of really good, solid like SP3, SP4 material there. He's been the SP2 kind of stats at times, but I think consistently probably more in that like SP3, SP4 range. But AJ, where do you want to start here with them?
I mean, I guess I'll start with Garrett. I don't know. I'm just not on this whole train of how great this guy is, I guess. And maybe that's, egg on my face, but I know he had a good year last year with the White Sox. I know he's had some injury history that he came back from, and he pitched really well. But just the innings cap and everything that he dealt with last year, I don't want to say inability, but the I don't know, steadfastness of, hey, if you trade me, I'm not pitching in the playoffs, or whatever it was that, he was just so staunch on having out there. Like, I don't know. He's just an interesting case to me. I do think he is a talented pitcher. I think he can definitely help this team. I'm not going to take that away from him, but I just never really bought into this allure of this guy. And, the Phillies were a team that were talking about getting him last year. And, I'm glad they didn't get him this year. Let the Red Sox have him. Okay, great. Chapman, past his prime. He can still get it done here and there, but I think he's got to be, at this point in his career, he's got to rely more on location than he's going to just blow the ball by guys. There's still a little bit of that, but it's not the same that it was in his past. So he's kind of an interesting guy as well. Again, probably definitely going to be rostered in a lot of fantasy leagues. But I could see him as being one of those late round draft picks that just ultimately gets dropped, for his first or second blow up. It's like, all right, I'm done with this guy.
I'll take Chapman over any of the Dodgers guys, I think. Probably not Tanner Scott, but I'll take him over the Indians.
You know, I forgot about this. Liam Hendricks hanging
He's
out
still there. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll still take him. I think Aroldis Chapman's going to save games over Liam Hendricks.
I want to get back to Crochet here. And, you know, I think a lot of people are, and in my opinion, mistakenly projecting his strikeouts to kind of just carry throughout the whole season. Like if he gets the full workload, it's going to stay the same rate. He knew going into those games, he was going 3-4 innings max. He was pitching all out.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that, I don't think, unless he's a total moron. If he has the chance to go 6-7, you know, every game. You try to go 100% every single inning, every single pitch, you're going to throw your arm out. But he could do that. He could just, you know, pump fastballs down the middle and strike people out because he's good at that. You know, I mean, he was still striking out like 8 dudes in like 3 innings. I mean, that kind of rate's not ridiculous.
Really good. I did buy into that.
The only reason why he was still rostered in the second half in a lot of leagues because you were just like, basically a reliever for me. Like he's like a really good long reliever for me. He's just killing me, you know, giving me great ratios and a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah.
People were okay with that.
When we did the top 10 pitchers together, you let me know that there were some comments of people being upset that I did not include Garrett Crochet in my top 10. And it's for that reason. When I wrote it, he was on the White Sox still, and he had about absolutely no chance of getting a win. So that's changed with the Red Sox. So maybe he gets a few more wins. But just like you said, he didn't pitch over 5 innings after July started. He'll pitch more with the Red Sox. He has a better chance for wins. But the strikeout rate that we're talking about, there's no way that he's able to strike out the almost 13 per 9 innings unless he is some type of unicorn. And he's great. But I don't think that's going to happen. And what do we still think? Like you talked about the innings cap. He pitched 146 last year. 160 at most again. And that's terrifying for a guy that has had the reason. It's not that he just came out of nowhere. Garrett Crochet was in the big leagues in 2020. He has been around. He has just been extraordinarily injury prone. So it's not that there is still on a per inning basis. You can easily tell me he's one of the best 5 pitchers in the game. But I have very little confidence that he is going to pitch a full workload again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I was just trying to Google it because hell if I actually remember the actual date. But I am pretty sure that he was born after I graduated high school.
Dude,
which is
sadly there's a lot of players now like that, AJ.
Well, I know.
Stop
that,
looking at that.
It's I have him up on roster resource here, Fantrax, whatever, and I was like, now another reason why to not like this guy.
Youngins.
Awesome.
Yeah. His ADP is pretty high up there. It is definitely in the top 10 for all pitchers right now. The cheat sheet likes him a lot. The projections love him. And I guarantee it's the huge strikeout rates. I'm hoping those kind of come down a little bit. You know, I'll manually adjust a bunch of those as we kind of tweak this out and things like that. I think
Blake Snell. I assume Blake Snell's going later than Garrett Crochet, and they're basically the same pitcher.
Yeah,
he is. He's going 3 pitchers later, but about a whole round later. And I'm just using Fantrax ADP, by the way. If I kind of do everybody's like NFBC, it's probably really different. I don't even know right now.
It'll be erratic when I get Blake Snell's good starts and bad starts, but at the end of the year, pretty confident he's going to settle in with a pretty low ERA, tons of strikeouts, and be on the Dodgers, so he'll probably get a lot of wins.
Yeah, NFBC do full rounds in a 12-team league. Now I know NFBC is a lot of 15-team leagues, but it is a 30 ADP for Crochet and a 52 ADP in NFBC for Snell. I'll take the discount all day for that. I think there's too many pitchers that you can get later, mid rounds that are just way too good. We see it every single year. These guys getting drafted in the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds. Scooble, perfect example last year. Reagan's perfect example last year. Now going to the top 2, 3 rounds. Like, kidding me? Like, these guys always. Well, Sale was free last year. Nobody wanted him, and I get it. I was finally out on him. Of course.
Yeah.
But all right, let's next kind of team that we want to highlight here. Kind of rapid fire through a few more of these here. Cubs, not as many splash signings, but Kyle Tucker, the trade to get him. That was the big one with him. What's your thoughts of him leaving Houston, going to a Cubs lineup that clearly not as strong? The ballpark, sometimes it's good, sometimes not good, depends on the winds. But Houston is a pretty favorable ballpark. Corey, what's your thoughts on Kyle Tucker's value? Up, down, stay the same? You're good with him?
I think it's pretty much neutral. Ballpark factors for players of Kyle Tucker's caliber don't really affect me. He's going to hit the ball out of Chicago, and like the NL Central as a whole is fantastic. The AL West has tough ballparks to hit in. The NL Central, you get Cincinnati, Milwaukee are both tiny, so he'll actually get a lot of better games. Whereas he was playing against Oakland and the Angels; those are tough ballparks to hit it out of. So I'm not really worried about Kyle Tucker. I think he's going to be fine as long as he can just stop missing a ton of games with wasn't supposed to be an injury and cost him half the season. And hopefully that doesn't happen this year. And he was off to just a phenomenal start when he got hurt. So put it all together, get a full year, 35 home runs, 20 steals with a positive average. Give me that at the back half of the first round.
Yeah. And AJ, I'm gonna kind of change it up here on you a little bit because I forgot this one actually was just fairly recent. They acquired Ryan Presley as well.
Yeah.
A second trade with Houston. How many times has that happened? 2 different trades with the same team in the offseason. They acquired Ryan Presley from Houston. Massive signing, in my opinion. Presley's been really good. But what's your thoughts on him, taking over the closer role from Porter Hodge? Probably. Be pretty shocked if it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, Hodge is the young buck, and he was their future, and then they went out and they're like, you know what? Now we're just going to go with the aged old veteran instead. Aside from Thielbar, Presley's not that far behind him as far as age goes, but he's still been very solid. I like this trade for them. I think it works in their favor to shore up the bullpen. We already talked about bullpens and how their changed usage really affects things now. Everybody wants to load up, so I think that this only helps them because they really didn't have much after Hodge really. So. Just some names.
Not the Dodgers.
No. I mean, it's not even a third of the Dodgers. So yeah, it's I think that their starters are still going to be solid enough that they can hopefully carry them into that 6-7 range. Boyd's coming off of a decent bounce back campaign, but again, another older arm, been around for a while. They still got a side there. Justin Steele, as long as he's healthy, should be decent. So I don't love their pitching staff, but I think it's suitable. And with Tucker being there now, he's fantastic. He's a great talent, hitting second in that lineup, protected by a Suzuki behind him. And then, Horner's dropped all the way down to 6th. So that'll be interesting to see if he stays down there all year or if he can, work his way back up.
I mean, he fell down there a lot last year. He did not have the greatest season. Started off,
he did not. He
absolutely
was
terrible. Batted,
he was one
65 of his games were
complete
batting
busts
first, but
from
6th
last
and
year.
7th was 52 and 26 of his games. So he was already kind of in that range.
Yeah.
Actually stole more bases from the 6th spot, 14, than he did from batting first, 11, for what it's worth. So,
all right, well, then maybe I'll stick down there if they're going to try to run him, and that's where his stats have helped. So, at least last year, that's about all that he did that helped. So,
all right. So D-backs are the next one here that we've got on the list. They're big signings. Obviously, Corbin Burns, Josh Naylor, was the trade with Cleveland. So AJ, I will give you Corbin Burns. Thoughts on him leaving the AL East, going to the NL West?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because he's now projected as their number one pitcher ahead of Zach Gallen. I get it. He's used to the NL. He pitched, all of his career there aside from last year. So I think that it's a good move for them. This again is similar to the Mets, another team who is in it to win it now. They got a taste of the World Series when they beat the Phillies. Don't want to talk about it, but Burns is he's a phenomenal talent. So I love this move for them. I hate it for the fact that Orioles lost him, but we knew that was happening. So I don't love him going to the Diamondbacks as an NL team, but
yeah, he's got to face obviously the Dodgers. That's a tough lineup, but I mean he was facing the Yankees.
San Fran, it's really not.
And then, he gets the Dodgers and the Padres, so those are tough. Giants kind of hit or miss. Good contact rate. They do strike out a good bit, and then there's the Rockies. So he got some gimme games. So, as long as this, obviously in Colorado could be a different story, but I think Corbin Burns is one of those pitchers that maybe feel safe starting him there either way. But Corey, any thoughts on that? And then I want to get your quick take on the Josh Naylor trade.
I have some concerns with Corbin Burns just because the strikeouts keep dropping, and that's concerning. Where when he was at his peak, he was original Garrett Crochet striking out 12 per 9, and now we're down here under 9. That's concerning. So watch the strikeout rate, because if it's going to keep falling like that, then he's not going to deliver where you probably take him. So I still like Corbin Burns, but not my first choice as far as fantasy starters. And Naylor, that's just Cleveland cheaping out and just basically giving him to Arizona. What we want out of Naylor is blend the last 2 seasons together, right? So 2 years ago, he hits 308. Last year, he only hits 243, but the power comes instead. 31 home runs and 108 RBI. We've seen power hitters be successful in Arizona. Christian Walker's been. Eugenio Suarez stepped in and hit for power. I think we're going to see the best season yet from Josh Naylor. I think we will see the 30 homers, and maybe we can get him to 265, 270. That's plenty good for me. He's a top 10 first baseman for fantasy, and Arizona gets another middle of the order bat. It's a good team. I think they led the league in runs scored last year, actually.
That sounds familiar. They were really good on that. I'll say this about Corbin Burns real quick. If you can throw out August for him, dude, his 2024 was, elite again. His strikeout rate that month was bad, 22 in 34 innings. Or no, sorry, 22 in 25 innings. But his ERA 7.3. Just something was off in August with him. Came back September was absurd for him. That was the Corbin Burns we're used to seeing. Maybe not 11, 12 strikeout rate, but it was back up to over 9. He was over 9 or right at it for 3 out of this the 6 months last year. So maybe there was just something going on with him, and he kind of got right again in September.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not
pitchers that
expecting.
rely on a cutter like that are always like the pitchers that rely on like a cutter or a sinker. It doesn't take a whole lot, and it can get it right back into it too. So I'm not saying I'd be shocked if he came back out and struck out 10. Just watch it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got.
I will say he did throw his cutter less last year than he had in previous years. I mean, he was up 52%, 55 again from 21, 22, 23. He was all the way down at 45 last year. He seemed to be relying more on his slider and a lot more on his curve. So yeah, I kind of attribute it to being in the AL East a little bit, but the drop overall, each year consistently in his K rate has been worrisome. So
yeah, so Houston Astros, we touched on them just slightly, but they obviously weren't super busy, but did make some noise. Isaac Paredes from the Cubs is an interesting name. Christian Walker took the Diamondbacks first baseman. That's why they've got who they've got now. So, Corey, who are you more interested here?
I think the whole team is similar to the discussion we were having with the Yankees, where, you lose your stud, Kyle Tucker, but you had two pretty good players here. Paredes, this is the team. When he was getting traded from Tampa Bay, there was rumors of him going to Houston, and everybody was pretty excited because what Paredes does is he pulls the ball in the air, and that's how he hits all his home runs. He doesn't hit them very particularly far. He just kind of pulls them down the line. So he was hitting 30 home runs when he was with Tampa Bay. And then his year with Chicago, it was, this does not look so pretty. But now he finds himself in Houston, where he gets the Crawford boxes in left field. So I'm expecting a big jump back to 30 home runs for Isaac Paredes. And Christian Walker can hit it out anywhere. He's just going to be he's a little older. He developed late. I think he's like 35 now. But I don't have a whole lot of doubts that I've seen people say like, they signed Jose Abreu when he fell off the table. I have no doubt that Christian Walker is going to be just fine for a couple of years with Houston. So
I do not think we're getting Jose Abreu action from Christian Walker. The same. No. So. I agree there. AJ, anything to add or want to move on?
No, I mean, I like the Paredes, acquisition. Obviously you still got Altuve. He's the oldest one in this lineup, but still productive in the leadoff. Alvarez still a stud. So yeah, I think it's a good move.
Did you see the rumors of Altuve moving to the outfield?
Well, they have Jake Myers in center.
So there's talk that they want to bring
Bregman
back again, bring Bregman back and have him play second and move Altuve to the outfield. That'd be interesting.
I have heard the rumors about Bregman. I had not caught wind of moving Altuve. So that's an interesting one.
Hasn't Paredes played second in his career though?
Maybe it was Paredes. It was either Bregman or Paredes moving to second and Altuve moving to the outfield. I didn't catch it completely, but it was definitely Altuve going to the outfield.
Last year he was pretty much solely third. He had 17 games at first and 10 at DH. So
yeah, Paredes was always first and third, I feel like.
Yeah.
I really like Christian Walker. I think his draft value finally has caught up where it should have been. It was always super cheap. I had a lot of him and for many years, and no more do you get him cheap, and rightfully so. Giants is the last team that we're gonna focus on directly here. Willy Adames, big signing for them, and then Justin Verlander signing a 1-year deal. Still hanging around. We got another one of those that we'll talk about in a second. I don't know, AJ, thoughts on Verlander? Can he work the magic, man? Can he work the fountain of youth?
I mean, when you're married to Kate Upton, I think there's always the idea of being able to work the fountain of youth.
That's a good point.
So
working something.
Kudos to that. But
Sorry.
yeah, I mean, former Cy Young pitcher, former World Series winner. You know, he still has it somewhere in there. I think he just needs to unlock it. And being in San Fran could be a great landing spot for him. You know, it's definitely more of a pitcher's park than a hitter's park. I like this move for them. Again, it's a 1-year contract, so they're not really, you know, buying into him by just buying him for a year.
Well, I think he knows he's 41, so nobody was giving him any more than that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, true.
In fact, he'll be 42 when the season starts.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's up there, but
he'll be my age.
I think he's still talented enough to be able to make it work. And again, at this point, he's going to be more of another location guy. He's not blowing the ball by you.
Strikeout rate is way down for him.
Yeah, so it's. I think he's the perfect like new Tim Lincecum. You know, people are going to go after him for name value because he's on the Giants, and you know, we'll see what we get. But I also feel like there's going to be a bunch of leagues where he's just more of a streaming option.
He's not getting drafted. I'll tell you that.
What's that?
Yeah.
He's basically not getting drafted.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's going to be people that draft him are drafting him on name value and past performance.
I will say his high in ADP is on NFBC is 299. So somebody wanted him. Somebody wanted him somewhere.
Yeah.
If you're taking him, you're taking him on the history of the Giants with pitchers, right? That's kind of the thing, is they've had such success with some of these guys. I'll speak to Willy Adames quick. Coming off of a career year with the Brewers, where I think he set career highs in all 5 of the rotisserie categories that we talk about here in fantasy sports. Maybe not batting average, but
outside
the other
of
4
batting
for sure.
average. Yes.
Yeah, maybe the other 4
was especially steals.
Yeah, the steals were out of nowhere. I don't know where that's got. Like maybe he gets 10 again. And we just talked about how San Francisco helps pitchers, right? Because it's a deep park. So the 32 home runs, don't bank on that again. I would hope for. I still think we can get a good season out of Willy Adames, like 20 to 25 home runs, 10 steals, and a competent average, but just don't expect a repeat. But good for the Giants. They've been trying to give away their money for like 2-3 years to find a hitter to come there, and they finally got one to say yes.
Yeah, rightfully so. So before we jump into the rest of the teams, we'll rapid fire through a bunch of them here. Just want to let you guys know we are running a fantasy baseball league. We've been doing it this is the 4th year now. It's called the Fantasy 6-Pack Series. It's run over on Fantrax, the absolute best place to play fantasy baseball, hands down. Do not play anywhere else. If you do not have your team over there yet, go over there. Use fantrax.com/fantasy6pack. Create your free league now. It is totally worth it. AJ, Corey, you agree. I know I've talked to both of you guys. AJ, we talk about it every year on the show. This is absolutely the place to play. It is. Yeah. The leagues are open all year round. So especially if you're in a dynasty or a keeper league, like they never go down, right? I'm not going to name names, but we know the sites that do that. So, anyway, the league is awesome. There's going to be over 100 participants. We're well over 70 already, and it's not even February. So there's going to be a bunch of analysts from different sites, a bunch of fantasy 6-packs analysts. We've got guys from Razzball. We've got guys from Fantrax. We've got guys from Baseball HQ, Pitcher List, Rotoballer. I forget all the different sites, but a bunch of different sites, and I'm sure there's more coming. It's a big, like, if you've ever heard of TGFBI, it's sort of like that. It's a big, like, all the teams are in one standings, but there's a bunch of little different divisions. And then, you just compete for the trophy, which if you can see on camera here, got this bad boy back here. It looks pretty nice from Trophy Smack. Thank you guys for supplying that. Corey rolled his eyes because he's jealous.
It's mine. It's
yeah. All
this
right.
year. I got that.
So go over to Fantasy Six Pack and check out. Look for the Fantasy Six Pack series. I've also got it pinned to the top of my Twitter and Blue Sky. Sign up. It's free. It's just have a good time. It's a little more casual than some of the other big like industry type leagues like that.
It's going to be weekly this year.
Yeah, and the big thing, that held a lot of people back. Was we changed it to a weekly lineup instead of daily, so a lot less attention has to be made. So it's a good time, and there's a lot of interaction with everybody in the league as well. So I enjoy it, and I hope to see you all jump in over there on Fantrax. But let's jump back into the teams here, and let's get a good rapid fire through a bunch of these. So Orioles is another one who actually had a lot of moves. Nothing too splashy here. Tyler O'Neill was a. I like the signing personally. As long as he can stay healthy, man, I think he's going to be amazing. And especially with them changing that ballpark, I think he can do good things over there. We saw what he did last year with the Red Sox. I think he could do easily that. Bautista coming back, I think, is just a huge addition here. Gary Sanchez behind the plate to back up Rushman is, I think, really, really good. Honestly, I don't really know with the pitchers. Like Charlie Morton, we know who he is, but like, I don't know, is he actually good still? It's hard to know. And then the Sugano, I literally know nothing about him. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I saw the name come up on my ticker and was like, who? Okay, cool. Apparently some guy that Adam Jones, who played over there, signed off on and said, go get this guy. So, we took his word for it. Sure.
We know players are always honest. He's not going to boost up his friend at all. That'll never happen.
Well, he's now back with the team as like a special advisor.
Yeah. I saw
the regional
that.
manager.
It's cool to have him in,
kind of the Dwight Schrute of the Orioles. I love that he's back. I love Adam Jones.
It does suck that they lost Santander. But replace him with O'Neill, Dylan Carlson. Take a slight chance. I don't know. Any thoughts on any of these guys? Got like 30 seconds, AJ.
Again, I think the Santander loss hurts. But I love the O'Neill signing. This is a guy that's bounced around for a couple of years now, but he's been in the AL East. So he's a talent. He's definitely going to fill a role there. I'd like to see them maybe move off of O'Hearn at some point at DH. Like they have so much talent in this farm system, like we talked about. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sanchez kind of take some of those at bats if he can, prove that he still has a bat. So keep an eye on that. But overall, I like all these moves. I love the add by not subtraction of Bautista coming back and hopefully being healthy. It'll be interesting. And Morton, solid guy. He's an innings eater.
Yes, he is.
So I think that's something they need.
Yeah, we keep getting bit by the injury bug at the pitcher level. But Corey, any thoughts, or you want to move on here to the Rays?
Tyler O'Neill can hit it on anywhere, so he's just got to stay healthy, and that is a big if. So
yeah, of course. Tampa here, who just kind of made a splash today. Ha-Seong Kim, 2-year deal for second base. Other than that, I mean, they didn't really do much, but Kim was an interesting signing. Where do you see him fitting in, Corey?
Well, at the beginning of the year on the injured reserve, because he is still hurt coming off of his shoulder surgery. So I believe the current projection is that he will be back sometime in May. So if you want to take him very late in your draft, you could store him on an injured slot. So that's better than having to eat up a bench spot with stashing a rookie. But when he does play, I think you know what you're going to get out of him. It's a little power and a little speed. The average kind of fluctuates, but he'll play shortstop for them. And while they love a platoon. I don't think that will happen with Hossie and Kim this season.
Do you see him do you see this hurting Junior Caminero at all? Like there was kind of talk that like that was like initial reaction on Twitter was like, oh no, we love Junior Caminero, but like now Kim can like move him around, and no, I mean this is Taylor Walls goodbye. Like right, yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
So AJ, I'm gonna ask you about the Blue Jays. They were the next team and actually made a splash, I guess if you want to call it that, at least a name signing today. Max Scherzer, talked about Verlander already, and of course they were the ones that got Santander. I hate to see him go in the division.
Yeah,
they did.
I mean, I love the Santander signing for them. Hate it for us, but Scherzer's interesting. Another guy who's very similar to Verlander. Plenty of success in his history. Multiple World Series wins, and he's been solid, but the injuries have always plagued him, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, I guess. So he's kind of interesting to see what you can get out of him. They also got Jimenez, as you said, Jeff Hoffman from Philly. Obviously,
I like that signing.
I hate to see him go, but it will be interesting to see if they decide to put him as a starter.
I don't think they are. They didn't.
He wanted to be a starter, but I think they said that he's going to close.
Yeah, so he really bounced back. He came up in the Rockies system as a starter. Obviously got roughed.
Typical Rockies pitcher
in Colorado, but he really excelled in Philly and really rejuvenated his name, his career, and I was very sad to see him go. I knew we weren't going to retain him, but I think he'll have a very solid season there. And they still got Green, they still got Garcia behind him, so there's other guys that can kind of fill in, but he is the best reliever that's there. So I think Toronto's gonna make some noise. They still have a decent offense, especially bringing in Santander. Bo Bichette hopefully can do something. Kirk's up and down. Jimenez is really nice complement to that offense.
I like Jimenez's game. I always have. So
I mean,
and I'll be honest with you, I like Scherzer more than I do Verlander. I think he's had more recent success, and he's still striking out guys at a higher clip.
I can get on board with that.
But I probably still won't draft either one of them.
He also needs to stay healthy, and that is becoming tougher as he hits. What is he, 40 now too? So
40. He at least will be 40.
He is 40.5 years old right now.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna skip the White Sox because nothing there. The Guardians traded away people. They Shane Bieber resigned. Detroit Tigers. Not a lot of movement here, but did sign Gleyber Torres. Detroit made some noise last year. They were an up-and-coming team. Obviously got the AL Cy Young. Gleyber Torres, man, is this a signing that interests you and at all? Does him being in Detroit excite you at all for his fantasy value, Corey?
Not really. He's going from one of the best hitters parks in all of baseball in Yankee Stadium to arguably the toughest park in all of baseball to hit it out of with Detroit. That's a tough spot to get it done. And he goes from batting. We're talking about the Yankees lineup with Soto and Judge. Well, now he gets Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter, who are fun, but Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, they are not. So unless there's a substantial dip, I will probably not have a whole lot of
and only Carpenter on half of the games. So
yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, that's very true. As AJ knows. Yes. The Royals. I'm only going to mention them because they signed probably one of my favorite players in baseball. Like again, like Jimenez is a guy that I like. I like his game. I think he's underrated. Jonathan India is a guy who I've always been enamored with. I think he can be special. Just can't quite seem to put it all together. Now gets a chance to go to Kansas City where like I think they're just gonna like let him loose, right? They got to. Like why they don't have anybody else to like hold him back. They don't have, a bunch of guys in that infield to like swap him out if he sucks. Just let him keep playing, right? India. AJ, thoughts?
I like it. I think it's a good move for them. India he's just a gritty player. He's not going to get you 50 home runs or, whatever, but he's going to go out there. He's going to play every day. He's going to get you some steals. He's going to get on base. He's going to get you some clutch hits. Like, he's just a good baseball player. I really thought you were going to go with Captain Biggio here, but that was more of a
Dap's not here.
Shout out to Dap. We love you, Dap. Yeah, I like the India.
Oh, I love it. We already got to have a Biggio's talk.
Yeah,
get here.
Tick her up.
Do we still have it? It's got to be there somewhere.
Sure we do. We do somewhere.
And, he's projected the bat leadoff. India is.
Yeah.
So that's
a great spot.
That's a great spot
awesome
for him.
spot,
He's got. I mean, they've got some talent behind him in that lineup. Bobby Witt, obviously, Pasquantino, Perez. Those are some great names. And if Melendez can get his act back together, I think he could easily climb that order.
He was kind of a big disappointment last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he can get his act back together, Garcia got hot. Was really hot to start the season. If he could, put it all together. Royals gonna make some noise this year, man.
Can we talk the closer situation quick? Because they just signed Carlos Estevez. Does that?
Oh, right.
Yes.
Is that? Where do we lean with the saves here? Because I think Lucas Erceg, after they traded for him from Oakland, was good.
Very good.
He was very good. So I'm hoping that Erceg is still the closer, but Carlos Estevez is the type of guy that will come in and mess this up and steal 20 saves from this. So where do you guys stand?
I want it to be Erceg. I do.
Yeah.
And right now, my gut still leans their projections are actually not leaning in that direction. But
they've got Estevez. Well, they're dual closers right now on
right.
But Estevez is the first name, and it's not alphabetical order. So that says something to me that they signed this guy for a reason. He had
first name alphabetical order.
Who the hell alphabetizes by first names?
Didn't you say you said it was alphabetical order?
No, I said it's not alphabetical order because it's by last name, you clown. God damn it. I have to English you all the time. I mean, he had arguably his best season last year. In 23, he had 31 saves for the Angels. Last year, 26 in less games. So I think they're going to probably start off with Estevez, but I'd rather
short leash, though, right?
I wonder if it could be one of those things where,
like, could be.
You kind of put the guy who, because Erceg's the bigger strikeout guy, at least for the last few seasons combined. Like, do you kind of put that that guy to get you to the ninth in the eighth role? We see a lot of teams do this now.
Yeah,
your better guy in the 7-8 inning role to make sure you get there. Because the ninth inning guy, you just need a guy who can just
that's
just
really where Hoffman kind of cut his teeth with Philly. Was like, hey, I'm going to be a setup guy, but I can also close occasionally.
Or Devin Williams cut his teeth. Like, some good ones cut their teeth doing that.
Right. So, all right, let's move on here. Angels, we'll pass on that one. Athletics, do we want to talk about Severino? Jeffrey Springs is kind of interesting. I wanted him to be a thing last year and just no. Unfortunately not.
More interested in Springs than Severino, but I really want to see how the Sacramento AAA ballpark affects pitchers.
Yeah. I mean, there could be, we're going to see this with
Tampa Bay too.
Tampa Bay as well.
Yeah.
I think their hitters, are going to.
That's right. I totally forgot about their
buy a lot of their hitters. I've seen a lot of people
choice.
on like Underdog throwing out that they're just stacking Tampa Bay hitters because they're super cheap on Underdog, and it's like, why not? Hitting in a minor league ballpark. I totally get it. The Rangers here traded for Jake Berger. That's a pretty good signing. Berger, struggled at times last year, but still, I think overall a pretty good player. Where does he slot into that lineup though?
First base, because they traded Naylor. Because
I was saying like where are they putting him in there? So
the lineup batting wise,
So right now they've got him at eighth or ninth right now.
But that's a good lineup too, though. I mean, we're not talking about a traditional lineup. That lineup has a lot of good players in it.
It does.
Yeah,
I like Jake Berger in Texas a lot. I'll say that.
I do too, especially when that summer heat starts kicking in.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's not going to get pitched around like he did in Miami, where, because like I said, you're not pitching around Jake Berger to get
his protection is Jonah Heim. It's like, we'll go ahead and try to throw to Berger.
Yeah.
But two after him is Simeon again. So this is a very solid.
Was not awesome last year. But
no, he was not.
Not somebody
better than anything the Marlins had.
True. The Braves made an interesting signing. Jurickson Profar kind of shores up that outfield for them. Acuna is probably not going to start the season. I think the question for this is, I think, how does this affect Michael Harris? Because initially, Michael Harris was the leadoff guy probably until Acuna returned. Now, could you see Profar being the leadoff, and then where does Harris go? Or are they just going to bat at the top 1-2? What's your thoughts with how that plays out until Acuna comes back, Corey?
I think Michael Harris still bats at the leadoff spot for this team. I would think Profar either slots 2 or 6, depending on him or Ozzie Albies, how they want to flip those two. Those guys were both switch hitters, so you can kind of manipulate those two. But I think eventually when Acuna gets back, Acuna goes back to first. If Profar is successful, he would stay at second, and we've already seen they'll bat Michael Harris 9th. That's how they typically do it, and it makes it kind of irritating because he doesn't get the amount of plate appearances you want. But it's another good team. Like, if you're batting 6th, 7th, 8th on the Braves, that's not a bad spot to be. You're batting behind players like Marcell Ozuna and Austin Riley. You'll be fine. So
when Albies is your 6th hitter projected, you're good. We good.
And that's without Acuna. So
no kidding. That's the biggest loser.
We're just going to slot everyone down. I do think Harris will move out of there, and then he drops down to maybe 7. Okay. So he'll be ahead of Kalenic.
He'll be gone, right? That's who gets benched.
That's what
Kalenic gets bumped
at this point.
He'll
need an injury to get back into the lineup. He'll play against righties only, pretty much. So it is what it is. We'll skip the Marlins. We've already talked about the Mets. The Phillies, I hesitate to talk about him because we'll be here for another 30 minutes. But you lost Hoffman, bring in Romano. AJ, what do you got?
I mean, it's interesting because we basically traded the two. Romano was with.
If you got a 1-year deal out of Romano instead of 3.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of a show me deal, but he just hasn't been healthy. When he has been healthy, he's been good, but right
now, slotted.
I don't love. I like the Luzardo pickup, more than anything else that the Phillies have done.
I like the Luzardo.
And
I was going to ask you about
this whole thing. I almost wore my Alec Boehm shirt tonight. Maybe I'll wear it next week. But it's they talked all offseason about, we're going to trade him. We're going to trade him. Well, no, his name's not out there. And it's like, are you insane? Everybody in any kind of baseball realm of knowledge knows that you're dangling him out there because of his, whatever crybaby bullshit that he had going on in the playoffs. And nobody wants to take that on. Like, hey, we'll give you Alec Bohm. But I mean, he had his best season last year as well in the regular season. He was very productive for them. But I just don't understand this whole, hey, we're going to run it back again nonsense. And it's like, you ran it back the last time when you got douched by the D-bags in the freaking NLCS because you guys can't freaking hit in the playoffs. So, yeah, let's just go out and I don't hate the Kepler signing, but
Mike Rowan, AJ Rant number 2, by the way.
Yeah, basically. It's just disappointing. This whole offseason has been straight up disappointing. And thanks, sweet baby Jesus, that the Eagles are in the Super Bowl so we can forget about it for a little bit. But yeah, now that we're talking about it again, I'm depressed. Talk to me in a week and a half after we beat the Chiefs and have the full reign of saying we knocked out Belichick and Brady's dynasty, and now we're coming for former coach of the Eagles, Andy Big Red Reed, and Patty, don't touch me or you're getting a flag thrown on you, Mahomes.
And Taylor Swift.
Who is an Eagles fan at heart because she grew up in Central PA. So, well, Eastern Central PA. Closer to Philly than like Pittsburgh. So I'm going to skip the Nationals. I don't think it's as, super important. I want to ask you, Corey, about Gavin Lux over in Cincinnati. I thought it was a very interesting trade with the Dodgers. Again, the Dodgers were loaded, so they could give him away finally. Do you think he was a luxury tax card?
Yeah. AJ's mid-season form. Do you think Gavin Lux can finally become the player that we all kind of hoped he would be, now that he's in Cincinnati?
I think he's going to get every opportunity now to prove that he's the player that we all thought he could be, because the talk is they're going to play him at DH, because here's the thing. This team has I don't want to say deepest infield ever, but it's just so many options that they have, right? Matt McClain is back, Candelario, Spencer Steer, you got Gavin Lux, and then Christian Encarnacion Strand we all kind of liked last season. So I think they're going to DH him and give him an opportunity. He's going to struggle against lefties. He just looks like it's going to be a case with Gavin Lux. But full opportunity, kind of a fun offense, playing in Cincinnati. If you get him pretty late, I'll take a chance on that in fantasy baseball.
Yeah. This team in general is young AF. Like, it's really good looking on paper for the age factor, and if all these guys can really pull it together, I think this could be a dangerous team. They've kind of shown some flashes, but it's never been all at the same time. Nope. Lux getting out of the Dodgers system, I think this could be really good for him. Even hitting as the DH, he doesn't have to worry about fielding, but he's in the 8-hole right now, projected. So again, it's a loaded.
You just call him an A-hole?
No,
I said Corey called me a tool on Twitter.
8-hole.
Totally accidental, but it was
check out my tweets.
Mind out of the gutter, sir. Yeah, I think it's an interesting fit being that far down the lineup, but because of this, overload of other position players ahead of them, it's not a surprise to see.
No.
Yeah. I feel like, I think we're done talking about the free agent signings, unless there's somebody left that you guys are really dying to talk about?
No, I think we hit it. I mean, did we talk about the Dodgers yet? I think they had a couple guys come in.
Might have spent like a half an hour on them. I don't know. So real quick, still available. Give me one guy that you're most interested to see their landing spot out of the guys we got listed here. Obviously, Pete Alonso, Bregman, Jack Flaherty, Pivetta, Kenley Jansen, Kyle Finnegan are the I think the bigger names left. There's some other guys out there too, but AJ, who's the one guy that you're super curious to see where he signs? And
I mean, I'm gonna say Pete Alonso because it sounds like he's pointing towards going back to the Mets, but it also sounds like maybe he's gonna fire Scott Boras. So it's just a weird event of things going on with him. Maybe he just gets so angry that he somehow becomes a Philly, and I don't know where he'll play. Clearly, Bryce Harper is entrenched at first, but if we bring him in, hey, Bryce, sorry, you're making too much money. You're going back to the outfield because our outfielders are not that great. So we need you there.
Bryce Harper will get hurt 20 games into playing the outfield again. So good luck with that one.
Probably. So thanks for dashing my hopes at another World Series again. No, but he's probably the biggest name.
That'll be our bullpen.
That's still out, but I'd be very surprised if he doesn't end up back with the Mets somehow. And it's just going to be ugly though. I don't think this marriage will be good.
Corey.
We already talked about Bregman. I think he probably ends up back with Houston. So I'll talk the pitchers. There has been shockingly little mention of Jack Flaherty. It feels like throughout the offseason, it feels like we have just not heard him after he had his best season in like half a decade and helped the Dodgers win a World Series, like being a pretty pivotal part of that. And I thought we'd hear a lot of teams interested, and it hasn't happened. He could just as easily re-sign with the Dodgers, I suppose, and add another name to that list. Like,
please don't put that into sense.
Where are we talking?
Dodgers, do you remember me?
Have you guys heard of Jack Flaherty's name mentioned once all offseason?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say the same thing. Like, what's going on with him? Like, it's so crazy.
Can he be an Orioles, comeback option?
Time number 2, redo, see if it can go better than the first time.
Why not?
I'll take it.
I would take it. Yeah.
I would absolutely take it. Although you say that, AJ, I literally just Googled Jack Flaherty's name 9 hours ago, whatever BVM Sports is. Orioles eye Jack Flaherty as replacement for Burns. Yeah, do it. Need it.
See, that's how you
not
speak
good
something
the first
into
time,
existence.
but I will take
9 hours ago, it already was spoken into existence. Now I'm saying it.
I love it. No, that was the one I was going to say. Honestly, none of these other guys super excite me here.
Kenley Jansen and Kyle Finnegan, they're just the other two names that are still relief pitchers that if they sign in the right spot could mess up something.
Yeah.
I think so. I think they're both, obviously
they're good enough that
you feel like they're going to sign with like a bad team that doesn't have a good bullpen. And so it's just like, oh, well, now what?
Yeah.
Like that's what it's going to be. So
yeah. Hello, Pittsburgh.
That's what we've got for this week's show, folks. I want to thank you for listening. I know this was a long one, but obviously there's tons of moves that happened, so appreciate you sticking with us here. The rest of the lineup this offseason is a good one. We got prospects next week with Chris Blessing, good friend of the show. We're going to talk draft strategies, kind of a little how to draft action here with Rudy Gamble from Razzball. We got a bus show with Joe Orico. Sleepers with George Bissell. We're doing a mock draft on, of course, Fantrax with Mick from Fantrax. I didn't plan that on purpose, actually. He just signed up for that show. ADP analysis with Howard Benner from Fantasy Alarm. And then, of course, we got to bring back Mike Kurland to talk about all the spring training battles and all the stuff he locks in and really just his spring training analysis is top notch, and just he really locks in on like the lineup projections and keeps trends going. It's the good stuff. So that's what we've got ready for you guys. Again, if you're still here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and thanks, Corey, for joining us. Looking forward to a good season with you, man.
All season, guys. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. I appreciate the Phillies Red solidarity tonight. So let's go. Let's go. Shut up. Commanders suck. Eat it.
Come on. You were scared. Shut up. You were scared before the game.
Briefly. And then they handed it to Saquon. I was like, yeah, what was I thinking?
Yeah,
that's true.
That was great.
3-2-1 Cancun. Jaden, how do you like that? Fiat.
All right. Bye-bye.